Carbophobia is probably killing your gains and your health. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. A quick reminder, if you guys would please like my video. If you aren't following or subscribed, please do so down below and drop me a comment under the video. I would appreciate that so much. Thank you. All right, let's get over to the topic. And a disclaimer, you know, when I bring this up, people are like, but sometimes you've done low carb diets. You've used them at the past for dropping water or at certain points in your own weight loss journey when you lost over 100 pounds. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me be clear on that. I think low carb diets can absolutely be useful. I think they can have their place. They're a tool in the toolbox. All right, so we need to be clear on that. They're just a tool in the toolbox. It's this whole insane idea that people have that carbohydrates themselves are the enemy, or that they cause poor health, that they're associated with obesity or anything else is quite frankly is insane. It's not supported by the evidence. In fact, the evidence is overwhelming in the opposite direction. In fact, the epidemiology all over the world shows that it can't even possibly be true. Like there is literally no way the sort of phobia that people have of carbohydrates is warranted if you simply look at the world. Okay, this is before, so you can't even say, well, bias studies. Yeah, I mean, bias studies didn't impact the population of China or Japan, or the health in these various countries. Like so you know, kind of the point that I would make with that, you know, before we even look at any of the science or discuss that, and we will a little bit, literally look at the state of Asia. How much rice is consumed in East Asian countries, or even South Asian countries, but I mean particularly East Asian countries. Enormous staple. White rice too. Sometimes we're talking many times white rice. Yet these countries don't have an obesity problem. They don't have a diabetes problem. They don't have a cardiovascular disease problem. All right, that should be a big red flag when you start blaming carbohydrates for everything. Okay. All right. Before anyone thinks I'm going to go crazy vegan or something on you here, I'm not. I love steak, and I'm very pro-dairy. I think everyone knows that I'm a big fan of lean beef, and I'm a big fan of dairy. So let's not let anybody think that's the direction we're going to go here. Let's step back and look at it, because I believe in honest, intelligent, rational, balanced eating of whole foods. All right? Wow. And I know that's rare. People don't do that today. Like, you have to be in some really extreme, crazy, kooky diet cult today. You know, it's not permissible to have a balanced, fair eating approach based upon evidence and observation. You have to be in a cult, right? All right, let's set that aside. I know it's really unpopular to be intelligent and balanced and evidence-based. All right, so that being said, there's your big problem right there. So anyone who's got a major fear of carbohydrates, or even white rice is a perfect example, then how do you explain the existence of East Asia? It's clearly a myth. This entire part of the world doesn't exist, and it's a fabricated illusion created by big rice. All right, they lied. Asia doesn't even exist, really. I mean, this is the only hypothesis you have. That's the only explanation you have. All right, but I digress. Back over to the point. No, carbohydrates are the primary fuel source of humans, okay? They're the primary fuel source of humans. It is what our body thrives on. We are a starch-based species. I'm not saying we don't handle fats. I'm not saying we shouldn't be eating plenty of animal proteins. But we have to be realistic. It is our most efficient fuel source. It's our cleanest fuel source. Now, people start talking about certain processed carbs. Well, that's usually refined fructose. And yeah, we don't handle that well. But again, you can't apply refined sugars and refined fructose. And crazy enough, some of these crazy carnivore types will still eat refined fructose, literally the worst carbohydrate you could possibly consume, and pretend it's healthy while being scared of rice or potatoes. It's insane. They'll eat honey. 50% fructose and it's refined. It's technically a refined sugar. just like table sugar, as far as our body is concerned. But whatever. But you can't apply the concerns of refined fructose or glucose, because the whole problem with refined fructose is the process that your body has to put it through to make it into the glucose it really wants is hard on the liver, and it negatively affects metabolic processes because your liver processes the refined fructose if it reaches your bloodstream, in the same pathway that it does alcohol, right? So, yeah, it's problematic. We all agree on this. I think almost all of us universally agree refined sugars, because of the fructose content with the lack of fiber, absolutely problematic. But it has nothing to do with most carbohydrates, has nothing to do with starches, has nothing to do with rice, with potatoes, with oats, or even with fruit, if we're going to be honest. So again, this whole thing, here's the issue. It's hurting your health, because if you're replacing all this carbohydrate with a bunch of saturated fat, and please note, saturated fat in moderation, I don't think is a problem. I don't think the data suggests it's a problem. And again, the nice balance approach. But in excess, it's a problem. Yes, it will affect your insulin sensitivity. Yes, it will raise your LDL-C. And at the end of the day, the data, again, overwhelming. It's not even a debate anymore. LDL-C, elevated LDL-C, is the driver of atherosclerosis. It is the number one driver of it. It has been demonstrated repeatedly. So yeah, if your LDL-C is elevated from the saturated fat you're consuming, it is killing you. It is harming your long-term health. All right, so therein lay the problem. But then we come over to the fear of carbohydrates. People miss vital nutrients because they're refusing to eat the carbohydrate-rich foods. It'll give them all the phytonutrients, polyphenols, antioxidants, all these things we benefit from. So it's affecting everything from cardiovascular disease to cancer to brain health to everything. But then the carbohydrates themselves, in terms of their capacity to help us build muscle and fuel our training. Again, carbohydrates are absolutely required for significant muscle growth. Not saying they have to be high, but it can be helpful. But there is a minimum threshold that you have to have, or your performance in the gym is impacted, your muscle growth, muscle protein synthesis is impacted negatively. Low carbohydrate diets, performance of athletes degrades over time, been observed. Okay, it's been observed repeatedly. And they'll argue that, well, even endurance athletes know, well, yeah, it does. It's just that really high-fat diets help tremendously with endurance athletes because of gastric emptying rates and limits of GI tract absorption. But they still benefit from carbohydrates also. So again, guys, you are harming your gains and you are harming your health if you are afraid of carbohydrates. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.